Dr. Jose Rizal's formal schooling at a village school. Dr. Jose Rizal learned the alphabet in prayers at the age of 3. And did you know that the first teacher of Rizal was his mother, Doña Teodora Alonso Rialonda? As a tutor, Doña Teodora was patient, conscientious, and understanding. And she first discovered that her son had a talent for poetry. She encouraged him to write poems. She related many stories to lighten the monotony of memorizing the ABCs and to stimulate her son's imagination. Rizal's parents employed private tutors to give him lessons at home. Her first tutor was Maestro Celestino and the second was Maestro Lucas Padua. Who is Leon Monroy in Rizal's life? Leon Monroy is a former classmate of Rizal's father. This old teacher lived at the Rizal home and instructed Jose in Spanish and Latin. He did not live long and died 5 months later. After Monroy's death, the parents of Rizal decided to send him to a private school in Biñan. Rizal moves to Biñan. Sunday afternoon of June 1869, Rizal left Calamba to move in Biñan. Pasiano accompanied Rizal in his trip on board a Caromata. Their travel lasted for 1.5 hours, then proceed to their aunt's house, where Rizal was to lodge. That Sunday night, his cousin Leandro invited him for a walk around the town to familiarize Rizal with the place. But at that time, he felt homesick as he remembered his mother and sisters. Rizal's first day at the village school. He was accompanied again by Pasiano to the village school under the charge of Maestro Justiniano Cruz, Pasiano's teacher during his elementary school days. Pedro, son of Maestro Cruz, laughed at Rizal because of his response to the maestro's question. Afternoon of Rizal's first day in school, he challenged Pedro to a fight. But after the class in the afternoon, his classmate named Andres Salandanan challenged him to an arm wrestling match. In succeeding days, he had other fights with the boys of Biñan. He was not quarrelsome by nature, but he never ran away from fight. Rizal's academic studies at the village school. Even at this level of education, Rizal was able to demonstrate his intellectual superiority, the best in his class in Latin, Spanish, and the rest of the subjects. Because of this, he was the object of jealousy by his classmates, and thus was made to look bad in front of the maestro and was punished. He did not enjoy his schooling at the village school under Maestro Justiniano Cruz. He did not even like his teacher, who he described as a tall man with a long neck and a sharp nose and a body bent slightly forward. But though he did not like him, he considered him an expert in Latin and Spanish grammars. One thing he hated from him was his use of corporal punishment in making the pupils learn the lesson for the day. He considered it barbarous. He highlighted his hatred for that type of instruction in his Nolimi Tangere. For him, or for Ibarra, a school has to be a playground of the mind and not a torture chamber. Now let's talk about his life at Biñan. He had a very systematic and disciplined life. Wakes up 4 o'clock in the morning, attends the mass, go home and study lessons, take his breakfast, and attend class until 10 o'clock. He then goes home for lunch. After resting for an hour, he returns to school for afternoon classes from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, he had to pray with his cousins and study for a while. After supper time, when there was a moon, he played with his nieces in the street. He also took painting and drawing lessons under Maestro Cruz's father-in-law, the old Juancho, and eventually became his apprentice. The rigorous life he had as an elementary pupil at the village school equipped him with the competencies for secondary schooling in Manila and strengthened his body and soul as a young lad. And now, the end of schooling at the village school. He then returned to Calamba after receiving a letter from his sister Saturnina. By December 17, 1870, he was able to return to his hometown. He went home by boarding a steamship named Talim. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.